is welcome to Sales Reimagined. Thank you for attending the webinar. We've got an hour and a half, very practical, going to be doing some work and asking you for contributions. Hopefully those who are not on video, we can still hear me and we can still react and still put into breakout rooms, etc. But I've called it Sales Reimagined for a reason. And the reason is sales was changing before COVID. It was absolutely changing before COVID. And the thing, why do you think sales was changing before COVID? Anyone got an idea of why the business to business, particularly sales environment, has moved from traditional sales representatives out on the road, selling product, meeting clients, etc.? Why has that whole sales cycle process changed in terms of before COVID? Any ideas?
Cost.
Sorry, Stuart?
Pure cost of actually putting people out day in, day out.
Yeah.
And also customers not having time to spend with
I think there's
the traditional sales representation.
There's a customer expectation which we're going to come on to. Cost is an issue. More importantly than that, anybody else got an idea as to why that whole sales cycle, the dynamic shifted away from the sales representative towards the customer?
Because the customer can access more data.
The customer can access raw data. Was that James who said that? Yeah, James?
Yeah, so they can basically find out more about your product and service online, but they don't need to speak to a salesperson until really they're that far along the buy journey.
Absolutely right. I call it holding the aces, okay? Traditionally, salespeople held all the aces. In return for a fee, I would share with you some knowledge or a product or some expertise. The reality of that is, as James has touched on there, the advent of the internet, the advent of YouTube, the advent of, research tools, people now already know in advance what options they've got available to them. So the traditional method of sharing information in return for cash was changing anyway. But what's COVID done? What's COVID done to that in terms of adding a layer on to that then? What's the dynamic of COVID then? Anyone?
The fact that people are in front of screens for their whole working day, they can access that far easier. But at the same time, the networking community that they'd normally go out to see isn't in place. They have to try and learn a new skill to be able to have that same level of interaction and customer engagement, I suppose. They
do indeed. They do indeed. And I think that the other thing with COVID is even if I've got a couple of clients who've got sales representatives who are old school, very good at what they do or what they did, desperate to get back out on the road, but the clients don't want to see them. They don't want to see them because they've got safety fears. They don't want to see them because they don't think they need to anymore. And because we're all now Zoom literate, or you'd think we are, wouldn't you, with regard to, we're all Zoom and Teams and, Hangouts and all the other, we're a little bit more literate than we were. People just say, can we just set up a Zoom or can we do a call? I don't think people make phone calls anymore. People now just, the default is, shall we have a Zoom instead of having the old-fashioned phone call? So the reality is we've got lots of challenges to overcome. And that's why it's called Sales Reimagined, because I want to think about the dynamics of what do we do with post-COVID, and as we come out of lockdown, how do we, as a set of teams, ensure that we are maximising the performance of the business? Because it's changed forever. I don't think the old-fashioned sales rep is going to work in the same way. There's still an absolute place for a sales representative. We're going to work in a very different set of dynamics. But the last thing in terms of scene setting is throwing in customer expectations. I think customer expectations in the last 5 years of any business have increased exponentially, dramatically, in terms of, they see and set expectations that they see other people delivering, because things like social media is only full of good news, isn't it? People post on social media how fabulous some experience was or how absolutely wonderful this kind of working relationship with this particular business or client was. They don't post on there very often how bad things were. So expectations have risen as well. So I'm going to share with you a few stats and then we're going to get into some things. 10 out of 10 for customer service is probably no longer enough for a number of reasons, okay? So 62% of customers will say they share bad experiences, 62%, and they've got so many mediums and channels to do that these days. more than half of customers have stopped buying from a company because a competitor provided a better experience. And I think this is where this is about today, is how do we influence the experience going forward to make sure that we are providing a better experience in the competition, using the technology, using the sales tools, using the sales cycle. 72% of customers say they share good experiences, which is great. And equally, 2/3 will pay a little bit more for a great experience. So what I'd ask you to think about is, in terms of, I'd like someone to share with me a during COVID lockdown success story, an experience where they've been able to deliver something that exceeded expectations of the customer. You've either kept a customer, won a new customer, grown a customer during lockdown. And I'd like to understand how that worked and what was the impact of that. Has anyone got any during lockdown success stories to share with me? Can't have been all that bad, folks. It can't have been all that bad. Tell me it wasn't all that bad all the way through.
Oh,
We had one of our companies just started a chat function on their website, and the MD was skeptical about it.
Mm-hmm.
They launched it on a Thursday, and on a Friday, a customer that we didn't know came on urgently looking for some bursting discs, which are safety devices.
Mm-hmm.
And by Monday, they had the purchase order.
Wow.
Now, what would normally have happened if he'd emailed us in, if he even could have found us and emailed us in, we would have had to code it, etc., etc., etc. So we basically won the order before any of the competitors knew we were actually even there was something to quote.
And that's with someone you didn't even know was a potential customer because they found you. Okay. I'm going to talk about what I call push sales versus pull sales. Okay. Push sales is traditional. We'll push out information. Pull sales is where you're doing something right as a business in terms of promoting. So whether it's your website, your social media presence, your platforms, and people are drawn to that. It's how you handle that when they're drawn to you that makes a difference. No old-fashioned sales process in the world would have made that happen to that level or that quickly, though, would it, Morgan? Not
No.
one of your traditional approaches would have made that work. Would you accept that?
The only way that would have happened is a customer who knew us phones a sales engineer in the evening, but a company who doesn't know us wouldn't have known.
Yeah, and they wouldn't have known who to ring, and they wouldn't have known sort of, etc. So the MD's no longer skeptical about the web chat then.
Enthusiastic.
Enthusiastic, I would say, would probably be the right word. Okay. So the reality is that customer now is probably going to be quite loyal to that business simply because they solved a problem. I would imagine, given the timescales, it was quite an urgent request then. If they put the purchase order through the following Monday, it's because they had a requirement that was desperate and urgent. So it's about making sure you've got systems and processes in place to allow you to go the extra yard. But the one big expectation here is, and this goes against the web chat to a certain extent, although it does mean that you're still engaging with them. 84% of customers say being treated like a person, not a number, is very important. So we still need that interface. We still need that people transaction. We still need that sort of dynamic of engagement, but we're going to engage in a different way. So the final scene sets I want to go through before we get into the practicalities is what's changed. Are these kind of things how sales used to work and how they work now, okay? So in the old school sales was, tell me what keeps you up at night, tell me what your problems are, tell me all your issues, etc. And a salesperson was trained to listen to those problems and try and match the product or service to those problems. It's changed dramatically now where people value, I call it, as I say, sort of push sales or push marketing. They value the fact that you've taken some time to make an informed approach to that particular company. So I'm working with an organization at the moment who are selling medical device monitoring systems into the NHS. So they'll put a tracking device and they'll put a GPS systems in and whatever. And in the old days, you'd say to somebody, what's the problems with your medical devices? And they'd say, well, we keep losing them. We don't know where they are. Or every time we find one, they're broken. And that's fine. But actually what we do, we're saying to the NHS, to the world of the NHS, to the engineers, to the ward sisters and all these kind of people, we know you've got some challenges. These challenges look like this, and we've got some things we'd like to share with you that may be of interest. We are promoting our knowledge of the customer experience and the customer environment as elevating our position, rather than just saying, tell me what you've got and we'll give you a solution. A few others, you know, can I get 15 minutes of your time? It's not really for what purpose. I think people are so time starved now. I think as Stuart said there, people don't want to see the sales reps out on the road. You know, what's the reason? What time? You want 15 minutes of my time? I don't see the value in that because you haven't given me a reason to say yes. The reality is, if you say we've got something of value, interest, opportunity, I'd like to share some of the research that we've done, some of our knowledge, some of the ways we can help you to design and deploy solutions, you get a much stronger positioning piece. You also get a much stronger response. We're getting responses from the NHS based on the research that we're doing and the fact that we're presenting it as research-based solutions to the problems we know exist because we've done the research to prove that they exist. We haven't got a product and said, do you want one? It looks like this. In the old days, people used to say we'd train salespeople to be in control, and control is an element that you need to maintain. But actually, it's more about listening. It's more about understanding. It's more about not reacting. I call it salespeople sometimes have a shark mentality. They say a shark can smell a drop of blood in the water from 3 miles. I've no idea who's measuring that, by the way. I've no idea. 3.1, I'm okay. But 3, I don't know. But the reality is sometimes a salesperson, an old school salesperson, will hear, oh, we've got a problem with this, and they'll dive straight into the solution. The reality of it is, understand more, ask more questions, show some more interest, build up a bigger picture of the scale of potential and opportunity to work together, rather than diving in because you've got a sales target to achieve and you've heard the word engineer or problem or whatever it might be that you're selling. And the last one is cold calling and databases and all that kind of thing. It's still important to be very proactive in terms of doing the research, who you're going to target, etc. But actually using tools like Sales Navigator on LinkedIn, research tools to find out who the sweet spot. So again, I'll just use the NHS analogy. We've got 3 people, job titles that we work with that we're targeting. One is a medical device engineer. Second one is a ward nurse, ward sister, or ward matron. And the third one is someone with the word executive in their title from a strategic point of view. So rather than just, you know, ringing round cold, we're looking and researching and finding out who these people are and doing targeted approaches to them and asking them to contribute to our research methods, etc., etc. So it's all about this thought leadership, okay? I'm going to ask anyone if they want to share with me. If I said you thought leadership, what does thought leadership mean to you, or what do you think it means to the world in general? Any volunteers? Anyone? Are any of you thought leaders? You might not know you are, but we'll find out when we get you a definition. I've just let James back in. Anyone? Does anyone know what thought leadership is? Let me explain what thought leadership is, okay? Thought leadership is, I don't like the word influence because it makes you sound like Kim Kardashian, but it's being a person of influence, interest, value, knowledge in your industry. It's elevating you from a generalist to an expert in the field that you operate in as a practitioner. So I'll give you an example. If you are Leonard, what's your job role, Leonard, if you don't mind, and what's the business? Tell the people what you do.
I'm the sales manager of Corona.
Mm-hmm.
And my sort of biggest segment is the petrochemical industry here in Sweden.
And what are you selling into the petrochemical industry then, Leonard?
Control valves, safety relief valves.
Okay.
And of course, it's also a trust, because if petrochemical industry goes down, or they have their turnover turnaround each 4 or 6 years, and they don't want to stop in between that. It costs a lot of money, a lot of resources, so therefore they buy from us sort of a trust and also good equipment.
Any level of shutdown is an impact on them, isn't it, in terms of cost, etc. Yeah. Okay. But I'd like to see Leonard, and I'd like to see your business being the go-to experts for those precision valves and mechanics that you provide, by building up that capability, that knowledge, that kind of awareness of how do I see and experience your knowledge and capability. So I'll give you an example. Thought leadership it's about really being someone who can stand out from the competition and say, these are the people we should go to because they've got a strategy to promote what they do. They are connected to the right people. They're presenting key messages, commenting on safety, commenting on the sector, commenting on new ways of engineering, commenting on things like the global impact of the pandemic on the petrochemical industry. So people see you as aligned to the environment and the target audience that you're talking to. So having content being distributed and creating kind of an awareness of you as a business. So I do 3 things in my business, okay? So I deal with sales, I deal with leadership, and I deal with, to a certain extent, I deal with emerging leadership, sort of newly qualified and newly promoted sort of people. But sales is in my DNA. So if I want to present myself as an expert or someone of interest or value in the arena of sales, I have to have a strategy to make sure that I'm posting content, I'm commenting on content, I'm sharing materials, I am creating new routes to engage with me, such as things like this, for example. And what that does is, when people are saying, who should I speak to about sales, people are coming to you because there's an awareness. You've shortened that sales cycle. And a bit like the guy, I'd be interested to know, Morgan, where do you think the guy found the website with the chat function? Do you know? I think.
Yeah, I think he just asked Google.
Yeah. So again, that's another thing in terms of, if you, as part of your sales strategy, put Google in and you're sort of high in the ranking. So whether that's organic or whether that's paid for. But Stuart Raby, you and I have worked together a long time. Without sort of blowing smoke up my proverbial, would you say I'm right to consider myself to have some level of expertise in sales?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do sales training with anybody else.
Okay, well, that's
why I'm here.
I wasn't looking for the compliment, but I appreciate that. But is that based on not just experience, but also content that I provide, things like podcasts, things like social media posts, etc., etc.? Yeah. That is going to shorten your sales cycle. That's what a lot of people are not quite doing. And there's an opportunity that you could take, because if your competition are not doing that, it drives traffic and drives interest. So the last question I've got before we get into a new sales funnel is, have you got a content strategy for your business? And if you haven't, you need to think about sitting down with the marketing people, the social media people, sitting down with the sales team, and making sure that as a business, as an organization, you're driving content and material and, whatever it might be. So whether that's animated videos, whether it's just posts on LinkedIn, things that are in, I'm looking at the oil and gas industry, Lennart. There might be some publications that are, read by everybody in the industry. Are you putting content into there? Are you associating yourself with things that are already working really well? And if you don't have a content strategy, you're missing the opportunity to shorten your sales cycle. Because what we want is more that Morgan had there, people just finding you, ringing you and connecting with you and saying, can you help me? But that only comes if there's an awareness piece in the first instance. Does that make sense? So it's being the go-to people, the knowledgeable person, the experienced people, the people who are seen as, the people to ask. So Alyssa, you work for Northern Rail. You're a rail specialist. You've been in the industry, what, 12 years or so?
Yep.
There's not much you don't know about rail travel in the UK, is there?
No.
So-
Yeah, fair amount.
Yeah, but despite the fact that you work for a corporate organisation that's got lots of marketing collateral, I still think you could do more as Alyssa Robinson as the go-to person, not just the go-to brand for Northern Rail, but the go-to person as commenting on what's the impact of working from home on the rail industry, what's the impact of, you know, those, you could publish pieces that are just thought-provoking, and it's just making you elevated in the environments in which you work. So there's loads of chances to do it. You don't have to be a copywriter. You don't have to be, you know, a wonderful sort of author. You can reshare other people's content. So if you see an article, resharing that and aligning yourself with that article, again, just from an alignment piece, works really well. So that's why it's all changed. That's where we've got to. And we've got to a place where we say, so what do we do about it? What do we do about the fact that we can't go old school? We're no longer doing what we used to do. If we did, it wouldn't work as well. If we did, we're carrying the expense, but we're not carrying the reward. So we need to think about doing things differently. So I'm going to talk to you about what the new B2B, business-to-business sales funnel looks like. And then how, as we go through it, can we influence that? Okay. So your typical sales funnel, you can have 7, 8, 10 steps, but essentially in my world, it works in 4. You raise awareness of your product or service. You interact with a potential customer. You tweak their interest and you get them to take some action, which hopefully is buy the product or service. It's a shortened version of a 7 or 8 step sales funnel. That is still the sales funnel. That is still the process, but it's very, very different in how it's executed. So the steps are still relevant. You've got to raise awareness. You've got to interact, but the interaction is the bit we're going to focus on first. That's going to change dramatically. Raising interest for them to take some action is also changed. There's a huge opportunity to do things better because of the advent of the likes of Zoom and Teams, etc. So that's the sales funnel now. Does anybody not agree with that as a sales funnel process? Has anyone got anything that's massively different on that in terms of, you know, how you would look to work to entice your customers, to bring them through and to get them to buy from you? Anyone got anything dramatically? I'd be surprised if you've got something dramatically different, but you might have the an odd step or two that might be different. Anyone got any difference?
When we work through distribution, so it's slightly different, but the process is still the same.
Well, all you're doing there with distribution, though, Stu, is you're still raising awareness through a third party, and ultimately the distributors are doing that funnel for you, aren't they? Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
All right. So let's have a look at what we do with that, because the execution is very different, as I say. So it starts with a sales strategy. So I want to ask you to write down. I want you to write down in headline format, bullet points or otherwise, whichever you prefer. What was the sales strategy for your business when lockdown kicked in? And if anything has changed, what is the strategy, the sales strategy for your business as we sort of come out of lockdown? We're still not there, but as we loosen off the shackles of lockdown. So who has a strategy when the doors shut? And what is the strategy now the doors are slightly opening and we've got a little bit potentially more confidence going forward? Just write down what that might have looked like, if indeed. Okay? You got a question, Alyssa, or are you just flicking with your pen?
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's fine. It's all right. If this was an auction, you've just bought a car, but you know, don't worry about it. You've got to be careful to move at the wrong time. I'm loving the two ladies with the headphones on. What I can't remember, GEFOOMSC. You're moving your eyes. You don't move in case I ask you anything. I'm loving that sort of. That's. But if you smile like that, I'm going to pick on you. So sales strategy on lockdown, sales strategy as we come through that. Some of the businesses in the group, Morgan, have done quite well in lockdown, haven't they?
Yeah, some of the businesses have done well. because we've always been focusing on the processes that drive performance and that delivers the results. But then some of them have had a tough time because their markets have basically disappeared in the short term.
Yeah. If their customers are not open, they can't sell to them, can they?
Yeah.
Half the battle's been getting decisions from people who've been on furlough and things, hasn't it? You know, if they've not been available to have the normal interaction, you could normally ring an office and get through, but if you didn't have the direct dial or the mobile number, you were losing that opportunity. So who wants to share with me their immediate lockdown sales strategy? You know, when on March the 23rd, it was in the UK, and it'll be in different times in Sweden and Norway, I guess. But, you know, at some stage, it was like, bang, we closed. Who had a strategy that they put in place immediately? Stuart, yeah? Do you want to explain what you do, Stuart, for people?
I'm the business development manager for UK, Ireland, and soon to be Europe for a safety equipment manufacturer.
Okay. So
when lockdown hit, we shut for 3 weeks. And when we came back, we were on very much skeleton staff. Our main strategy was just to keep talking to our distribution channels. Just keep talking. Nothing aggressive, but make sure that when we got the opportunity, make sure we convert, make sure we get the job out, keep everybody happy, keep ticking as best we can. We couldn't be overly aggressive, we didn't feel, but at the same time, we had to keep everybody juggling along.
There was a fundamental change at the start of lockdown where those people who started to heavy sell and hard sell stood out like a really sort of bad smell in a room because they weren't conscious of the fact that their target customers, so whether it's distributors in your case, Stuart, or potential end customers, were having the same challenges you had. The uncertainty was the thing that was the killer at the start for us. I think we all thought, how long is it going to be? What's the uncertainty? There's a financial impact. And I think you're right to do a light touch sales approach. Number one priority during lockdown early days was to make sure your existing customers knew that you were there for them if they needed you. And however you did that was, you know, whether it was light touch or, you know, Zoom calls or whatever it might be, a distributor network call, anything that works that allows them to know that you're still there for them. I work with lots of clients who did that. I work with some who didn't do that. And the ones who didn't do that are finding it very hard to come out of this quickly because their existing clients are saying, oh yeah, I forgot about you. You know, you were here when it was good times, but we didn't really hear from you when, you know, things changed really. So that's a really good way of dealing with that, making sure the distributors know you're there, light touch, help them when you can, make sure you can get things through the door. Who's excited about the future? Are any of you excited about where you're coming from now? Any of you, those who are not on video, you've got a reactions button in your bottom right-hand corner of your tray. You can put a thumb on there for me if you want to volunteer. How many of you are excited? So Jenny, thank you. Jenny, do you want to share with the group why you're excited about where you are now, coming out of where we've been? And, you know, we'll do that. And I'll come to Frederick as well. Thank you for your volunteering. Jenny first, do you explain to the people what your business is and what you do?
Oh, hi everybody. Again, I'm sorry not being able to be at video. I'm traveling at the moment, and it's hard with the connection here. But I hope you hear me okay. As I said before, I'm not into one of the Indutrade companies. I'm more working with the development and coaching and helping the leaders in different kind of actions, both strategical and operative. But I for sure are positive and looking forward to the future. What I just moving back from Stockholm, where I have been joining one of the companies in Flow, working with their digitalization roadmap, and it's of course about selling. I mean, that's what the Indutrade companies do. So what I saw there was the change, as you were talking about, how they were working with the selling process before COVID-19. It was a completely traditional one, you know, with a heavy out, I don't know what you say, selling staff, you know, working.
We call it outbound, Jenny. So you're pushing phone calls or, you know, e-shots or sales reps.
But they were working with these physical meetings out at the customers.
Yeah.
Doing like 8 to 10 each week. And of course, that have changed for them. So what they work with now is a digital roadmap, how to address the customers in the future. And I think it's brilliant. And what they have done so far is just not to try to do it so complex. It's more to do it where they are and the customers. They have. They actually go with the camera or their phones and looking to things, and they are trying to solve things on distance. And I think it's in waiting on the better sites and so on. They are actually working. I don't know what to say, but
they'll be much more efficient and effective, and we'll look at that shortly when we look at where's the best option to use technology, where's the best option to still go visit, when do you need to use things like Zoom and Teams, etc. Thank you for that, Jenny. Frederick, you said that you were excited about the future, or you've been doing things with the sales strategy that make you excited. Do you want to share with us a little bit about what you're doing and what you're thinking? If you just unmute bottom left. Unless we've lost you. Have we lost you, Frederick? You had your thumb up earlier. Okay. Well, what I liked about what Jenny said there was someone's looked at it as like we are doing now as a digital roadmap. And it's not just digital. Frederick, are you there? Are you there?
Yeah, no, I'm here. Yeah.
That's okay. Do you want to share with us then what you were saying about you've got a sales strategy and you're excited about where you are now?
I think I just, as Jenny said, that we also are a mix of different ages. So what I can see is the older group, how to say, they now see the possibilities. Like as many others, we start with the home offices and start using more of these digital tools. And it feels like it was necessary for our company to start using the new tools, as also this will they also see that we have to be in all the social medias and use other tools, and that it works.
Thank you. Well, we need to think about education. It's two-way education, really. You need to think about your sales strategy, a very simple process: who, what, why, where, when, how. So who do I need to target? What am I targeting them with? Where are they based? And the beauty of digital is it's opened up geography that perhaps wasn't open previously or as accessible previously. I've got people on a webinar here from Norway and Sweden. I've done some work across the Indutrade family where I had somebody in China at the same time as someone in the US. I think someone was up early and someone was up late on that particular call, but you know, they wouldn't have come to a classroom-based workshop, for example. So the where has just opened up huge opportunities. When's the best time to talk to people? Why would they listen to me, and how do I get at them? So that's a very simple sales strategy, but you look at that and you then start overlaying the sort of digital footprint of how it works. So like anything, you've got a myriad of communication options. And I think the phone seems to have been overlooked a little bit in the world, in the rush to Zoom, isn't it? You know, people go, should I have a Zoom call? Actually, you know what? Let's just have a phone call. Let's just do it by phone. Sometimes that's appropriate. You can still do emails and e-shots, but, you know, I'm not a massive fan of the blanket e-shot. I've never been a fan of the big number e-shots. I'd rather do a personalized email. Social media platforms, again, it's being on social media, but it's doing something with it. So I ran an online sales academy program in the summer. My only route to promoting that entire academy program was using LinkedIn, and I got 715 bookings over the summer for these 10 workshops. In 715 bookings, all through relentless posting, sharing, updating, you know, content specific teasers, etc., through social media. You can use messaging platforms. These days, it's less intrusive. So whether you use WhatsApp or Slack or some of these, you can also engage your potential customers with that. How many of you have got a group or a customer group on something like WhatsApp? Have any of you got a customer group on WhatsApp? No? If you've got a great relationship with your customers and you've got their personal mobile phone in your phone and you meet them regularly, whether it's Zoom or face-to-face, and you get on with them and you know their interests and hobbies, they would not have any objection to being part of a WhatsApp group potentially. And WhatsApp is a very short, quick, sharp way of getting at people. We respond in this way, don't we? If you're in this webinar and you weren't looking at other forms of medium, the minute you finish, you look at your phone. You've got a WhatsApp, you've got a text, you've got an email. Which order do you deal with them? You look at WhatsApp first. You probably look at text second and email third, don't you? So you can shorten that process by thinking about who are those customers that you've got in the relationship that's strong enough to try a messaging platform as a way of engaging them. It's also quite informal, and it's a lot easier to just, have a short message. We've talked about Zoom and Teams, we'll do that shortly. You can still go physical visiting. But what about doing a hybrid, for example? So if you go and see a customer, so let's say, Stuart, you go and see a customer distributor in South Wales, and they've also got distribution sort of facilities in the east of England and sort of northeast of England. You could do a meeting, and you could share that meeting physically with 3 or 4 people in the room, but also 3 or 4 people on Zoom at the same time. But you need to look at which gives you the best chance of success, and to a certain extent, which is going to make the customer react best. In the early days of lockdown, people were nervous of Zoom, people were nervous of Teams, they were nervous of the technology, they weren't sure how it worked, they weren't sure they had the bandwidth and the broadband, etc. And I think people used to look at production values and think, oh, it's a bit homemade, this. People don't care anymore, do they? I don't care if I've got Frederick and Jenny that I can't see. If they're still on the webinar, but I know that they're contributing, I can't see them because of bandwidth and whatever, or because Jenny's traveling, etc. That's fine. It's still better than not having her on the webinar, as an example. So we're going to start with the first protocol, prospecting, okay? Now, prospecting, I'm going to say to you, it's never been easier. Why has prospecting never been easier for the traditional sales representative? Why has it never been easier?
Technology platforms that allow you to basically scrape Sales Navigator,
Yep.
social, LinkedIn.
Yeah, all of those. What else is important in that process, though, James? What are sales representatives not doing so much of now?
Traveling.
Yeah, they're not on the motorway at 5 in the morning to get to a meeting at 8, to do 6 meetings a day, to come back shattered and start again tomorrow and whatever. So the sales representative, the smart sales representative, is using that time that's been given back to them as part of their new revised sales structure to do the prospecting. And yes, James, you're right. It is about, access to data, information available, sales navigator tools, data research, etc. The old-fashioned approach to sales was, I haven't got time to do that because I'm out 5 days a week or I'm out 4 days a week. Alyssa, you are a heavy appointment-driven lady, aren't you? You go out and see businesses who are within, a 10, 15-minute walk of a station, and you're selling corporate travel solutions to these kind of organizations. You've done that traditionally because you work for the rail company, getting on a train, haven't you? And
Yes.
how many miles have you done across the highways and byways of the rail network in the north of England?
I dread to think, Nick. I
Yeah.
really do. I wish I'd kept account.
Millions plus,
Lots.
right? Okay.
Lots.
Now, the key to that is you have got a bit more time to research, because you're not going to necessarily go and see these people. So you're not spending a day, of which 4 hours that day is downtime traveling. It's different on a train. You can do some work. If you're driving, you can't. You can make phone calls, but it's dangerous. But you've got time that you didn't have before, which was important. And you've got access to the tools that James has mentioned there that allow you the opportunity to be prospecting more effectively. So you got to choose the quickest and easiest wins for your business. So you got Google searches. I still love a Google search. Top 20, whatever it might be, petrochemical companies, top 20 big companies in Manchester, top 20 this, top 20 that. The other thing with Google is you can do things like institutes. Every single trade, organization, business has got an opportunity to be part of an institute or an institution or whatever it might be. So the Law Society for Legal People in the UK, the Institute of Accountants, there's an Institute for Architects, there's an Institute for Town Planners, there's an institute for virtually anyone and everyone. That is usually readily available information. Dead simple on Google if you want to think about your prospecting. New LinkedIn connections. Now, what I've done recently, which is a real quick win, is instead of just sending someone a LinkedIn request. So let's say I want to join with James. Okay, what's your business, James? What do you unmute for me, James? So what do you do?
Scientific instrumentation.
Do what? Sorry.
Scientific instrumentation.
Okay, right. So scientific instrumentation. I send you a traditional LinkedIn request. Hi, James. We're in a few groups together. It'd be great to connect, blah, blah, blah. So your response to that is, so what? What I'm going to do is I'm going to post something on LinkedIn that might be relevant to you. And then I'm going to put a link to that post in the connection request. So what I've just done recently with one of my clients who've manufactured a face shield, but it's the only one in the UK that's got a CE mark, quality standards mark for design and reusability. There's a post on LinkedIn which talks about, it's a case study, talks about how they've designed this face shield, where it's come from, the design methodology, the reusability and the advantage. That's a whole piece on this face shield. So then I've sent out a connection request on behalf of the MD to anyone and everyone who's of interest and relevance. So managing directors of big retail companies, HR directors responsible for the duty of care in care homes and all that kind of thing. But instead of saying, I'd like to connect you on LinkedIn, I've said, we've just designed something. Here's a link to have a look at it. If you like what you see, I'd love to connect with you. So what you're doing is you're getting someone to see the content before they make an informed decision to say yes. The minute they accept that connection request, you know they've done it because there's some level of interest there. So what you've done is you've expanded your opportunity by getting them further down the sales funnel. So think about an article first and then point the connection request to the article, because you only get a certain amount of words to put in a connection request, and you can't do it justice, but you can put a link to the article in which does it justice for you. And that's a real shortcut that we've found recently. How many people have exported their LinkedIn recently? How many of you have ever exported your LinkedIn connections as a whole? Any of you ever done that? Stuart has, yeah? Anybody else? Morgan, have you done that?
Oh.
It's amazing. Can I ask you, Morgan, do you know roughly how many people you connected to on LinkedIn? Roughly?
I'm a dinosaur. I've never actually cared.
Okay.
So I have a lot to learn here.
Well, you might be okay. You might be the wrong person. Who's got a good quality LinkedIn connection level? Who's got some?
2,500.
Okay, James, that's good. 2,500. I guarantee you don't know those 2,500 people because you just don't. You know, you end up you sort of go on, accept that. If you export your LinkedIn connections, what you do is you export them to come into a CSV file like a spreadsheet. Bit of advice: save it automatically as an Excel spreadsheet. Because if you work on it as a CSV file, it doesn't save any. I've seen people do 2.5 hours work on their exported LinkedIn file, and it doesn't save because it's a CSV. It doesn't save it's like, no. What it does, I then put it into job title order. So what I'm doing with prospecting, I'm saying, right, I've got 6,000 connections. How many sales directors have I got? How many operations directors have I got? How many HR and training managers have I got? And I can do a campaign to those people in blocks. So every HR or learning and development manager, I can have the same message to. I'd have a very different message to a sales director potentially. And it's amazing who you're connected to when you export your LinkedIn connections. It's a 5-step process. You just follow it as a little YouTube tutorial, or send me a little note afterwards and I'll just walk you through it. It's dead easy. I'm not going to do it now because it's shared screens and all that kind of thing. But it's dead easy. And when you look at it, you go, I can't believe I'm connected to them. When was the last time I reached out to them? When was the last time I had a conversation with them? When was the last time I pushed some content to them that reminded them of me being, exceptional or relevant or interesting or of value to them as a potential customer? So that's another simple prospecting tool. You've already got a relationship. Well, say you got a relationship, you've got a connection. I've had some brilliant success with exported LinkedIn data. One of my clients exported his connections about a month ago, and he had about 3,500 connections. Put it in job title order. I said, how many? He said, I didn't know I had them. I didn't know. I've been trying to work with them for ages. I said, we've been connected with them since July 2014. Why didn't you look? Why didn't we follow it up? So, it just allows you that process. When you're on LinkedIn, if you're looking at putting posts on there, just see who's commenting, see who's looking at them, see who's sharing them. Because on some level they're saying you're of interest. And don't post stuff and do nothing with it. And I said, don't be lazy, put the timing. Prospecting takes time. Data management takes time. But there's no shortcut for efficiency and effectiveness. So stage 1, you've got time to do it, some shortcuts to allow you to do that more efficiently, but actually then is making sure that you then take it to the next stage, which is initial engagement. So again, you've got so many options for initial engagement, haven't you? You can send them a LinkedIn message. I'm not sure that works particularly well. Personal email, telephone, Zoom or similar. But how many of you ever sent a personal video message? We are now in an age where we can all use video. You're all on a screen now. If you did a Zoom meeting with yourself, there's only you on the screen. Press record and talk to the customer. So the lady with the headphone on who smiled earlier, GEFOOMSC, what's your name? Do you want to unmute for me? What's your name?
My name is Maika.
Maika, and what's your business, Maika?
We're selling industrial valves like knife gate valves, butterfly valves.
Okay. Now, if I was interested in talking to you about how I could help you with that, I could send you a LinkedIn connection request. I could send you a pointing to an article about how we can help you with that. I can send you an e-shot. I can send you an email. I could pick up the phone. Or I could go onto Zoom and record a 1-minute video. And I could record a 1-minute video and say, Mike, I've done some fantastic research work. I'd love to explore the things that we've done that are relevant to you, and ping it in a post. And you'd be amazed at the response level you get to a personalized video. It takes seconds to do. It's dead easy because the technologies, we're already using the technology right now. Have a meeting with yourself, press record. You don't even have to edit it. If it's rubbish, just record it again. It's only a minute, you don't have to be word perfect. Just record it again. It's a brilliant, brilliant tool. And it's a new way of using Zoom to engage people. So the other lady with the headphones on, you're smiling and nodding. Is that something you would have tried or thought of doing or whatever? Unmute for me if you can. I know you were struggling with the yeah.
So not until now.
What's your view then on doing a video piece? 1 minute. Give them the headlines about why they should be interested in you. What's your view on that?
So I have not thought about it until now. So. Okay.
Any of you? I mean, some of you might be nervous about. I've got a great face for radio, as we say. I'm not sure I like my own image, but if you're suntanned and handsome like Lennart, there, he'd love to be on video. Look at Lennart. He looks like a film star, doesn't he? Bless him. If you're chiseled and handsome and suntanned like Lennart, you could be a film star. 1 minute video clips, Lennart, to your target audience, even to your existing customers, to remind them. I'm just touching base, let you know that we're okay here. How are you? How can I help? It's a simple but brilliantly effective tool without having to invest anything because you've already got the technology in place. Next one, again, in terms of engagement, which options you've got available to you. As I say, you could go WhatsApp, Instagram or whatever. What gets you noticed and what gets you best response? Yes, James.
just going back to the last point, and what, you know, once you've got your video, what, in terms of sharing that, because obviously you either have to load it somewhere to link someone to it.
Yeah.
What's the platform that you've used to then express that?
Well, there's two options I use, and I'm not a technologist, so I'm only giving you my experience. I've got a YouTube platform, which is I just upload it onto YouTube, but you can create different channels. So I've got a YouTube platform for video testimonials. I've got a YouTube platform for webinars and stuff like that. So I can point people, and I can point people just to that one video if you want to. And the other one's Vimeo, which is, again, it's very similar. It's more business related than YouTube is potentially. YouTube's full of all sorts, isn't it? People with, you know, cats doing juggling and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, what I'm trying to kind of being, you know, from growing up with digital to a point, and I'm not a Luddite, but I'm not an expert, but you've got sales teams that are a little bit longer in the tooth. They've been on the road for a few years. In terms of making it as easy as possible for those that are taking those first steps into being more technologically savvy, setting up a YouTube video or Vimeo, etc. I'm just wondering if there was something native that you've used within Premise on LinkedIn. I can't remember there being a option to do that in LinkedIn.
No, you can't
from host a company post.
You can't host stuff on LinkedIn. You can post, but it doesn't get hosted there. The other thing I'd say to you, by the way, all of you, is if you're going to do videos that you're going to post on social media, you need to have them transcribed. I'm going to give you the name of it. It's rev.com. It's based in America. It costs you peanuts. If you get a video, I do like how-to videos. I've got a 3-minute how-to video, and I'll send it to Rev. It'll come back overnight, and I've got the transcription. And when you load it on YouTube, or you're loading it on LinkedIn, the transcription comes up, because most people don't put sound on when they're watching on a phone or they're watching on, you know, whatever. So the transcription, and it's literally peanuts. The accuracy level's dead simple. But going back to your question, James, is if you as a business set up a Vimeo platform and you could brand it, all you do literally, they record the video like saying they're talking to the laptop, and then they just drag it into Vimeo, and it creates a URL, and all you do is you go, right, I've got a video for you, Morgan. Click on this link, and it's a video. I wouldn't embed it into the email because it gets stripped at the gateway, it gets stripped by, you know, firewalls, but just point them to it. But a personalized video works brilliantly well. So Vimeo's as easy as any, I think, James, I would suggest on that. And the long in the tooth guys and ladies, you know, they will find it a bit of a challenge. They've never done it before, but they're often, if they work in sales, they're pretty, you know, articulate usually, and they're pretty confident people. They might not be confident on a screen, but a little bit of practice for a couple of minutes doesn't do any harm at all. So we're now going to get to the chemistry and scoping discussions, okay? Now, in the past, what often happened was you'd have a phone call with someone and you'd find out what the requirements might be. Tell me about your business, tell me what you do, and what I'll do is I'll put a proposal together for you and see if that looks right. That's how it worked, didn't it? We'd have a conversation to see if it's worth exploring, and I call it chemistry or scoping. But now I want to do that by Zoom or Teams, okay? I prefer Zoom, that's just my platform. I've used Teams, I've used a few others as well. But it's really, really important that you say to people, when somebody says, oh, well, can't we just do it by phone call? I use the phrase a lot with my salespeople that I work with. I'll say, it's what we do. And what I mean by that is, if your sales process is beneficial to you to be done by Zoom or Teams, it's not an option. You're not saying to a customer, can we set up a Zoom call? What you're saying to them is, we need to set up a Zoom call to run through this scoping discussion. Can't we just do it by phone? Well, how we work is we find Zoom is better for us and better for you. So it becomes a conversation about why you do Zoom, not can we do Zoom. It's having the confidence to say, this is our sales process. Now, this is the most important change that's been made as a result of COVID making us all Zoom aware or Teams aware. I wouldn't mind having shares in Zoom, by the way, would you? So I'm going to talk to you about in terms of pitching, okay? What I'd like someone to share with me what collateral you use or used before COVID. What would your external sales people out on the road, what would they take to a meeting? And if anyone's got anything that's changed during COVID, what do they do now? So what did they used to take, your old-fashioned sales approach? I'm out on the road, I've got either some product in the boot or some brochures or whatever, a laptop with a presentation on. What did you present? Who wants to share with me? I'll go with Alyssa. I know you well enough, Alyssa. I've been to various meetings with you. So you go to a meeting, customer says, I might be interested in your Northern Rail corporate travel service or your commuter cards. And you say, right, I'll come and see you. So you toddle off across the rail network and you get there. What are you presenting to them and what collateral is it? How does it work?
Okay, so I now have a demonstration video.
Mm-hmm.
So basically this part of the
did you have that before COVID? Did you have that before COVID? Did you have that before COVID? Did you have that before COVID?
I did.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
I'll allow that. I'll allow that then. I thought it was a new thing. That's fine.
No. So I had like a demo video of they can order their tickets online. So it's important for the people that I was seeing to see how simple the admin process was. Mm-hmm. So I had this demo video, which was about 10 minutes, not even that, and just go through the whole system with them on my laptop. Moving forward, during this time, I have done a little bit of new business, and I transposed that video onto Teams, and I do it the same way on Teams, and it works brilliantly. In fact, you get more attention from them.
Just as a screen share and a walkthrough,
Screen share and a walkthrough, same video, but just a walkthrough. Works really well.
A different way of presenting it. Okay. See, I think when it comes to pitching, the game's changed dramatically in your favor as a sales professional. So I've got here, it's an opportunity to control how you present your proposition. It's an opportunity to release the impact at the right time. Okay. So normally, if you had a phone call with someone, then sent your proposition off, you've got no control over how they read it, when they read it, what they read first, how they react to that. So you can control the whole process of that, and you can create content that's really, really inspiring. So first thing is shared screens, obviously thinking about, like Alyssa said there, you're sharing a screen, walking through, you're in control when you're sharing that screen. Then you can do marvelous stuff that you weren't doing before lockdown with things like infographics or stats or whatever it might be, decals. I'm going to show you a couple of examples shortly. Video, animation, you can drop that in, you can show people. I've got a client who's got a 1 minute, 20 second animated video. In 1 minute, 20 seconds, it does everything it needs to do to get people hooked. What he doesn't do is send it as a link and say, watch this video. He decides when it's right in that conversation at the right time for the right impact to go, now I'm going to show you the video. And it's because he's controlling the whole process. I love an infographic, by the way. I absolutely love an infographic, okay? So you don't have to be a marketeer particularly. How many of you use infographics or diagrams or whatever? Who put that on? James, use infographics, yeah? Give us an example of what might be on an infographic then, what kind of level of detail?
So it's more sort of a graphic of a process. It will be like step by step, very basic, just so people have that initial confusion overcome, because even words face to face doesn't necessarily create a picture in the mind. So even the simplest thing can be put into an animation or a graphic, and we're working on a few currently to show key messaging, the USPs of the product. So Jules will be happy to know that, who's my counterpart who's on this call as a sales, because I'm in marketing, so I'm not a salesperson. So I've come here to understand the dark side of sales.
Right. Okay. Well, we'll move you to the dark side at some stage, James, and Gilles will pretend that we're.
He's a good marketer as well, so that's fine.
A salesperson who understands marketing is a real asset. So you sound like a real asset to me, Gilles, on that basis. That's good. What I'd say to you is the creation of that kind of content now allows you to control when you release that visual. You release it on a screen share when the timing's right in the meeting. So having content that is very different to what it would have been before, which might have been a traditional brochure, I'll walk you through it, I'll show you it, or a flat dead sort of presentation, or just a conversation, you've moved the ball game on significantly, allowing for the fact that we are now using a visual medium. I'm going to come on to your actual proposal in a minute, okay? So I use that single page decal. I'm talking about my online academy, okay? Now, it doesn't mean anything if you see it graphically like that. You just think, oh, it's a bit loads of words or whatever it might be. The key to that is, apart from the IMPACTUS online bit in the middle circle, accessible, inspiring content, expertly hosted and delivered, that's the why. Why should I buy from IMPACTUS? The green is the process by which we would work with you if you choose to work with us. So we'll evaluate your requirements, we'll create the right solution, we'll deliver it, and we'll inspire your audience, and we'll also go back to evaluate to make sure it delivered what you're looking for. So we do sales, emerging talent, and leadership for established leaders. We're looking at webinars, facilitated workshops, and coaching programs. In that one decal, that's a 1-minute presentation, it's a 10-minute presentation, it's a 15-minute discussion. It covers everything. It's designed for me to release the information at the time I want to, based on the response I'm getting in the room, on the Zoom, on the Teams, or wherever it might be. And because of screen sharing, it's absolutely simple to deliver that kind of thing. But I'm going to show you a little video. I apologize, it's me, and I've got a great face for radio. I'm going to share, it's a little 3-minute video, and it's about how to pitch effectively, okay? And it's about impact. So, remembering why people actually buy. Is your baby ugly? Wow, that's quite a question, isn't it? It's a question I often feel like I'm asking when I work with the businesses I work with, when I particularly try to understand why they exist and what makes them different. So I will work with an organization, I'll go in to see them, I'll say, tell me about your business. Invariably, they will come up with the same old story that everybody else comes up with. They'll say, we make this product, we are great at this service, we are fantastically knowledgeable, we are capable, technically gifted, we know what we're doing, we've been around since 1997, etc., etc. And what I say is, nobody cares. So that's like me going to an organization where the business owners have invested life, time, money, energy, blood, sweat, and tears, and saying, nobody cares. So am I saying that your baby's ugly? I guess to some extent I am. The reality is they're getting it wrong because they're not focusing on the impact of what they do so much as the service or product that they provide. I just want to inspire you with a little thought process. People don't buy what you do, they buy why they should buy from you. Let me give you an example. My business, IMPACTUS Group, does 3 things that no one cares about, including me. We do training, coaching, and consultancy, and I'm bored telling you, and you're bored listening. The reality is, we are all about inspiring performance excellence in teams, individuals, and in businesses. And I always start with that. When someone says to me, tell me about your business, I always start with the impact statement, the why. We inspire people to performance excellence, individually, teams, and across the business. The next natural question is, how do you do that? And that is where you talk about the process by which you deliver your impact. So in my case, it's a 4-stage process: people, process, profile, and profit. The people side is assessing their skill sets, their capability to learn, to be upskilled, those kind of areas. The process is looking to see if the business is fit for growth, ready for growth, or whether growth will create any challenges or problems. The profile is looking to say, does this business stand out in terms of the language it chooses, the position it takes, and how they communicate their unique selling points and brand in the marketplace? And the fourth one, profitability, is the end game I'm looking to achieve for that client. In reality, doing that through providing sales, leadership, management, or business development, coaching, training, or consultancy is just the end game. Start with the why, lead to the how, finish with the what you do. Never ever start with introducing yourself as, my name is Trevor, we are an accountancy practice, because people don't care. What is the impact of your accountancy practice? What is the impact of your product? Oops, I've lost that, sorry. Is your baby ugly? Chooses the position it takes. End game. Start with the why, lead to the how, finish with the what you do. Never ever start with introducing yourself as, my name is Trevor, we are an accountancy practice, because people don't care. What is the impact of your accountancy practice? What is the impact of your product? What is the impact of your business for the customers that choose to buy your products? Why, how, what? Hopefully that's useful for you. Try it, refine it, learn it, use it. Okay, so I'm going to stop that screen sharing for a second. What's your view on the simplicity of that? And can you see how you can visualize that in some kind of diagrammatic form or video form or whatever to impact the piece when it comes to showcasing your offer, your product or your service to others? What's your viewpoint on that? I can't see who's in and who's not really. Gilles, because you've been mentioned now and you're on the call, you're a sales professional. What's your view on kind of taking that approach to, you know, very directly saying, why should you care about buying from us? What's the process by which we work? And so how do we work? And then what is it we sell? What's your view on that?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What we try to do with James first is working end on end sales and marketing, which is not really frequent in every company. So we all try to think about new strategy together. And what I try to implement since this COVID-19 crisis started for Europe sales is what you described in slide, is bring short stories, concrete operational stories to the market. Stories everyone had in the end in the company in different way. So what we try to do is to summarize that, highlight benefits, create something that could hook interest in a short way, and bring that in the market in the most agile way, not spend 2 or 3 months to do that, but yes, create all this little story, exploit them in a short process, and again and again and again.
As a sales representative before COVID, you would have to struggle to articulate that when you've got so many visual options now to do it better and to exploit the interest from people. So a bit like Alyssa's video, it worked okay previously, it now works exceptionally well because the dynamics are different. So thank you for your contributions there. The one thing I'd ask you to think about, Gilles, is change the word benefit to advantage. It's the same thing, it's just got more power. There's more power to what's the advantage to you as a customer rather than the benefit. Benefit's sort of fairly flat word, whereas advantage is much more, it's got more power to it. It's the same principle, but it's just a thought process really to think about, you know, the impact of that. But this is what I'd like to see is people stepping up several gears in terms of how they present their proposals, okay? I don't want to see any of my clients now presenting a proposal as a Word document. It just doesn't cut it anymore. And why would you need to present it as a Word document when you've got options like PowerPoint or Prezi or other development delivery tools. So I'm going to say to you, if you're presenting a proposal back, never send a proposal to a client ever and say, here's the proposal. Say to the client, I'm looking to set up a Zoom or a Teams to present the proposal to you. It's how we work. I'm looking to set up a Zoom or to present the proposal to you. Quite importantly, that allows you, as I said earlier, to control the release of the information, but you can also embed in that proposal things that you wouldn't embed in a Word document. So, you know, a picture paints 1,000 words. This is an overview of a proposal sort of template that one of my clients uses. That visually is 10 times more appealing than a Word document with just the front logo on, isn't it, for example? It shows you straight away innovative operational excellence. It's got a digital platform and a dashboard on a mobile phone right on the front screen. It's got a nice blended color scheme on there. You can embed video and you can embed infographics. Why would you want to create a boring flat Word document that all they're going to do if you send it to them is look at the price? That's all they're going to do. You can release the flow of information when it works on this basis. So I was going to show you a video for Flowkey, but I'll see if it works. I don't think, because it takes you off. Tell me if you can see this, okay? Can you see that changing the screen or not? No. Can you not see? No, because I couldn't embed it in the, I couldn't do, for some reason, it's not my video, I couldn't embed it in the presentation. If you embed it in the presentation, you could show that there and then. But they've got this 1-minute video that just shows you what the business is all about, okay? The next thing, think about a visual case study. This is a case study of the face shields that my clients are involved in. It's got some fantastic visual collateral. It's got a picture of an NHS nurse holding up a sign saying, thank you, PDM. You know, it's the nurse is saying, thank you for the face shields. Visually very attractive. Word document doesn't do it anymore. Think about presenting your proposal. So this is how you pitch your proposal back to them. The order of the content delivery is vitally important, okay? You have to control, using Zoom or using PowerPoint and shared screens, etc., the flow and the reveal of the information. So what are their challenges? What are their options they're looking at? What do you propose as a solution? What's the impact of that solution? And what are the projected outcomes you can deliver? So far, none of that tells them how much it's going to cost, does it? So if you sent a proposal straight through to page 20 and go, ooh, how much? That's what they're looking for. You're not showing them anything to do with price until you've got them through understanding that you understand their challenge, you've looked at their options, you've proposed a solution, the impact that solution is going to deliver something for them, either operationally, financially, or commercially, and the outcomes are very positive. At every stage, you can check the response. So how does that look, James? What do you think of that, Alyssa? So Owen, Morgan, what do we think that looks like in terms of your requirements? And all the time, you're controlling that relationship of the proposal and the impact of that proposal. And then say to them, so having gone through all that, what do you reckon that's going to cost you? I'll say to somebody, what do you reckon it's going to cost you? And they'll go, I don't know, you tell me. Okay, but give us an idea, given that we understand your challenge, that's the proposal, how it's going to work, the outcome it's going to deliver. They might go, I don't know, 10 grand. And you go, right, okay. It might surprise you. It's going to be 8.5 and it's going to deliver a return on investment of that. You control the price conversation. You control it right from the outset. You don't let them see it without justifying why it is what it is. So again, it's using the word investment, not cost. So I always say to people, if they say to me, how much you charge for training? How much is your training cost? I say, it doesn't. Oh, okay. I say, I don't charge for training. I work with businesses who want to invest in their team. So it's an investment in your team. So you are all looking for potentially to invest in their business or invest in their product or invest in their improving performance or invest in their solution. If you talk about cost, it's always going to be, you know, the conversation piece you end up going to. How much does it cost? It's a bit expensive. how much am I prepared to invest to get the solution that you've presented? So pitching your proposal electronically using PowerPoint or Prezi or whatever. How many of you have used, you know, graphically pleasing presentation tools to prepare a proposal? How many of you do that? Put your hands up. Alyssa. So Leonard, are yours all Word driven? All Word documents, yeah?
Correct.
Okay. Can you imagine the difference between sending a Word document for someone to look at, even as a PDF, versus presenting that content in a really visual, impactful way with additional content built into it, like videos and animations and all the things that go with it. So, and then releasing the final bit, which is the investment they're going to make in that solution. Can you see the difference using the technology that we've got available to us now?
Absolutely. Yeah, the only thing is that it's a little bit difficult, though, for the procurement and to present this because they have a certain time when they open the bids, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, what you could do, here's the other thing, is you could get champions on side. Procurement is a process. You have to go through a portal, and I get all that. But you could get the service users, so the engineers are going to use your product. You could do a demo presentation to them to say, you know, we're going through this process. I would like your input to see if what we're delivering, looking at this. So you could still get your champions on side to help you with the procurement process potentially. But a flat Word document or a portal response, it just doesn't cut it anymore. Given the technologies available to us, why would we not use it? Yeah, does that make sense? So the last couple of things I want to think about is, again, eye to eye, objections, face to face, you can handle them on the call. You can't handle objections that people don't raise with you if they don't raise them because you're not involved in a conversation with them. If you send an email with an attachment and they go, yeah, a bit expensive, they're not going to tell you it's a bit expensive. They're just not going to respond to your emails. They're just not going to come back to you. They're just not going to re-engage. So you must all have a story or two of someone that you thought was red hot. And then 2 weeks later, they're not responding to your phone calls. They're just not coming back to you. And they've got objections that they won't share with you because they don't need to share with you by remote means like email, etc. You can handle them all. How does that look? A bit expensive. Okay, let's talk through that. Or I'm not sure it's the technical solution we're looking for. Let's talk through that. You can handle the objections face to face. I'm going to do a bit of word association. We talk about negotiating and closing, and we're nearly there. Is word association, and I want you to write down the first word that comes to mind when I say this word to you, okay? The first word that comes to mind. And the word is assertive, okay? The word is assertive. What does that mean to you? And I appreciate English. I appreciate English as a second language for some of you, and you know, so I apologize. I probably don't know what assertive is in Swedish or Norwegian, so I completely accept it if it's not, you know, something that you're comfortable answering. But who wants to answer assertive with me? I'll go, Morgan. English is your first language, Morgan, isn't it? So we'll give you.
Some wouldn't think so. Listen to me.
I just thought I'd have that little one in there. What does assertive mean to you, Morgan?
Pushy.
Pushy. Interesting. What does it mean to you, Alyssa?
Yeah, pushy, bit up front. Yeah.
Direct, all that kind of thing. Stuart?
Direct.
Direct. James?
I actually thought Margaret Thatcher.
Okay, wow. Okay. Let's not get political on that. Micah, do you understand Mika or Micah? Is it Mika? Do you understand assertive or not? Do you want to unmute for me, Mika? Sorry. I'm going to get a t-shirt. Unmute.
I understand you. Sorry.
So what does assertive mean to you?
Yeah, also like pushy or direct.
Yeah. Okay. A lot of people, thank you for that. A lot of people get that description and think that that's the case. Actually, the reality of assertiveness is about finding win. I call it win-win. It's my win-win moment. Okay. So when you're negotiating or closing a deal, assertive is about winning. but also the other people are winning. So you're not giving it away and then regretting it. You're not getting on over on your customer, they find out and they go somewhere else. It's having a conversation or a negotiation or discussion where they and you walk away from the conversation both happy. That's what assertiveness is finding that common ground. And that's what we're going to look at when it comes to closing the deal, okay? So again, how do you close the deal? Closing the deal by phone is so much harder than closing the deal face to face. I would get in a car, even now, to drive somewhere if I've gone through the process of presenting and pitching and electronically answering the questions, and if they then have a board meeting that they need to think about, and then I would get in a car to go and close a deal if it was appropriate, but I would certainly go down one level and go to Zoom or Teams than do it by phone call, and you're never going to get to close a deal very often by email. I call it doing the right thing, really, in terms of closing. But what's the best ever close, do you reckon, if you're not sure? So let's say I'm not sure that James and I are on the same page. I think I've done well with him. I think he's okay. I'm not getting the sense of that he's definitely going to buy from me. Stuart's the same. What's the best ever close? Anyone got an idea of how I can close the deal? What kind of language? This is quite traditional, but how can I close the deal if I'm not sure I've read the other person? Morgan doesn't give a lot away. He's a good poker player, Morgan, I suspect, aren't you, Morgan? If I'm trying to sell to you, you know, I'm not sure I've read you quite well enough. If I then say, are we going to go ahead? You go, not really. It's quite awkward, you know. So if I don't know I've read the person quite well, I need a different closing technique. Anyone got a closing technique for me? Anyone got a closing technique? Yeah, go on, Stu.
So where do we, in a phrasing, depending on what you're looking at, where does that sit with you? Where does that?
Yeah, something similar to that. But it starts with, I call it an iron fist in a silk glove. The iron fist means that they don't know they're going to get hit with this because the silk glove's quite soft, okay? It's a nice soft approach, but it gets the job done. But it comes after you've had a pre-closed summary. What I mean by that is, I'm trying to sell something to Alyssa, and I'm going to summarize and say, so Alyssa, your challenge was this. We've looked at that. Our solution looked like this. Given that what you talked about, the objections you had, we've overcome those and handled those for you. I'm now at the position where I've reminded of the high points of the conversation and the relationship so far. I'm just going to say to you, so what do you want to do now? What do you want to do now? Because that allows me, when Alyssa goes, well, I'm going to think about it. I've got a second bite of the cherry. I can say, that's great. What do you need to think about, or how can I help you to make a positive decision? Or if she says, I'm not sure. Okay, what are you not sure about? While we're together on the call, on the Zoom, how do I handle it? What information do you need? What clarification are you looking for to allow me to make sure that you've got all you need to be successful in making the right decision? So what do you want to do now? Where do we go from here? Or, you know, that kind of thing is a really, really powerful close. Best delivered face to face. I'm not going to show you that. No, okay. So, Alyssa, are you asking a question, or are you playing with your pen again?
No, I was going to ask a question. So would also something like, what are the next steps for you?
Yeah, because that's
come into that.
I call that assumptive. I'll say, you're assuming the next steps, and that's great. I like that. That's a nice, brave place to be. You've assumed that you've taken them on this journey, and you've earned the right at the end to go, so what do the next steps look like? It's great. That's it's quite direct. I like that. But the other one is for if you're not sure, and you're not sure you've read the person well enough. If you say, what's the next steps? They might think, oh, you're a bit cheeky, aren't you? We haven't said we're going ahead yet. There's a potential conflict there, isn't there? Just a little bit. Okay. Last thing, I want to go to key account management. I'm going to talk about negotiation. Think about these things. I'm just a little bit short. So what are the dynamics on the other side of the table? What pressure points are in place? Who are you negotiating with? What are they driving in terms of their requirements? Find some champions who can support your position. So people who are using the product, people who love your business, who've worked with you before. So procurement, don't just say, based on a procurement matrix, you haven't got it. You've got 5 or 6 people saying you're the people we want because of the precision engineering, the quality of backup, the fact that you were there for us during COVID, or whatever it might be. What's the impact of not buying from you? Are they in decision-making process of need, want, or desire? The guy who came on the web chat on Thursday of that particular week, Morgan, needed the product. So it's never about price. It's about, can you fulfill that requirement for me? Want is where someone is just simply looking and saying, I'm looking at options. I'm not ready to buy, but I definitely want to shortlist you or not shortlist you for potentially working with you, and desire the people who just, you know, tire kickers, time wasters, etc. Understand why your existing customers buy from you. That's really important, by the way, to know that. And what I mean by that is, if you have got existing mature customers, ask them why they buy from you. I did a piece of work with an aluminium manufacturing company over in Humberside a little while ago. I went to 50 customers and said, why do you buy from this particular business? The sales guys all said, it's because we're cheap and we need to be cheaper to sell more product. I can see Morgan twitching at the thought of me, a prospect of giving that money away. It's not what you want, is it? But salespeople say that a lot, don't they? Give me a cheaper price, I'll sell you more product. The reality was the customers valued the fact they always had stock in, they knew their technical knowledge was great and very helpful, and the price was good. So I said to them, when was the last time you ever mentioned, come to us, we've always got stock. Come to us, we can fulfill your requirements because we hold £500,000 worth of stock. So it means you don't have to. The sales guys went, no, we never mentioned that. We just talk about price. If you know why your customers actually buy from you, it's a very valuable sales tool to push back at negotiation stage and say, these are the reasons people come to us. It's based on evidence, not on what you think. A couple of the quick things. Avoid focusing on price alone. You'll always lose. And if they're ready to buy, the question I'll say to somebody, if they keep going on about price, I'll say to them, let's forget price for now. Assume I get that right. Are you ready to go ahead? Assume I get that right. Are you ready to go ahead? It's my job to get that price right. It's your job to tell me that you're ready to buy or not. If you're not ready to buy, let's not talk about the price for now. I'll give you an estimate. But let's talk about the price when you're ready to buy. It's being confident and assertive and having a win-win situation. Last couple of things, key account management, okay? Having a strategy for key accounts. First thing is, it's never been easier to get closer to your key accounts. Never been easier. Categorize your accounts. So Cat 1, Cat 2, Cat 3, Cat 4, regular, massive, one-off, you know, growth potential, however you want to categorize them, because you're going to have a different strategy for each set of accounts, aren't you? A different communication program. Your top customers are going to get more of you than your one-off customers. Your growth potential customers are going to get something extra and something different. Set up review meetings using Zoom and other methods like phone calls, etc. But have a Zoom meeting at the right time with your existing key accounts. I've got some clients who make, they manufacture and install automatic doors, gates and barriers. They've got some key accounts. They've got about 45 key accounts, local councils, universities, you know, these big places. We've now set up a Zoom call once a month with the head of facilities for each of those key accounts. They're not leaving the office. They're doing a Zoom call to talk to the facilities people. How's it working? What's happening? Are we performing well, etc., etc. So in between face-to-face meetings, use Zoom or Teams. Make them action and output driven. What are we going away and doing? And we'll confirm that back by email and more traditional methods. And create momentum in your agenda. So what cross-selling opportunities have you got? Cross-selling is better done face-to-face than it is via Zoom, which is why there's still a place for a site visit. A site visit opens your eyes to things you would never see on a Zoom call. Stuart, you're an old school guy in some ways, aren't you? You love a site visit, don't you? Because you can just go, oh, where you get that from? Who's supplying this? You don't see that on Zoom. There's still a place for face-to-face. And again, think about creating a WhatsApp, Slack, or a Messenger group as a new option for your key accounts. So we're sort of done. Sales isn't changing, it's definitely changed. Doing what you always did will no longer work. Clients are in charge because they are educating themselves before you even start. So you need to make sure they're educating themselves with your content. It's much more pull and push. So you're basically creating a body of work that magnetizes your customers towards you, like the web chat guy. Something dragged them to the website. It's what you do with it when it comes through the door. But you need to own some new sales challenges. As businesses, salespeople who are going to be agile are going to be more successful. So, you know, using the phrase that we've used a few times, old school, old style, sales reps, etc., they're going to be like dinosaurs even if they're not dinosaurs now, they're going to be dinosaurs pretty soon if they don't, you know, absorb, work on and improve just the channels, the way they get to people. So you might have to change some working practices. You might have to say to a sales rep, you know what, all your business is going to come through, you know, virtual. So we don't need the company car. You're not going to do 6,000 miles a month in terms of, you know, motorway mileage. And that might mean they're in the wrong job. They might want a job that they want the motorway mileage. I've got a couple of clients where the sales representatives have said, I don't like this new world order. They're going to look for a job where they'll find a sales rep job. I guarantee they won't find any. So create more visual content and be more visible. And then your processes are about saying to your customers, this is how we work. It's not asking permission. Can we do a Zoom call? It's saying, this is how we work. It's what we do. It's the process by which we are effective and efficient with and for you as a potential customer. So I'll put that up for now. I'm going to send a copy of the slide decks out if you, I should have said that, you've all registered, haven't you? So you've all registered. Morgan, do you know who's on from your Intertrade teams? Because I'll just send it to you for forwarding on. Is that okay? So I've got Leonard, Stig, Stefan, Jenny, etc. There's some podcasts there about the changing face of sales, and there's some connection content details from me. So going back to any questions, first of all, thumbs up otherwise. Was that useful, interesting, thought-provoking?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Some good stuff. Who's going to take something away? Leonard's going to go into films, aren't you, Leonard, with his chisel looks and his suntan. So
actually, I'm going to have all the sales guys doing a short presentation from themselves.
Yeah.
And put on our website.
Excellent. So it's like, hi, this is me. This is what people buy personality, Leonard. Absolutely buy personality, and they can have that on their LinkedIn profile. They can it just creates knowledge and creates noise, which is great. Okay. Any thoughts, questions, feedback, anything else?
I think a great point was elevate from generalist to expert.
Yeah.
They have a great opportunity there.
I think a lot of the businesses that you've got at industry, you are experts at what you do, aren't you? Very much so, of technical engineering. I think what you've got to take the opportunity now to create that momentum that says, we're the only people to come to. We are, you know, why would you go anywhere else? Because we're creating this noise, this platform, these case studies. But I'd encourage all of you to stop presenting your proposals as Word documents. Make them visually appealing and control the release of that information. You'd be amazed at the difference in response you'll get. Your conversion rates will go up, I guarantee. Okay. So I'll just take a screenshot. So I've got, you know everyone who's there from Intertrade, Morgan, do you? If you know.
Not 100%, but if you probably have the details and you can send it to me.
Yeah, well, I've got Leonard, Stig, Stefan, Jenny, Frederick, and yourself. Okay. James, you're not from an Intertrade company, are you? And Gilles, you're together, aren't you? That's fine. Alyssa, I've got, that's fine. Who are the two ladies then? Where are you from? Mika, where are you?
Yeah, we are from GIFA Prozesstechnik GmbH in Germany.
Is that part of Intertrade as well?
Yeah, it is.
One of our better companies.
Oh, controversial, Morgan. That's fine. Okay. No
Nick,
problem.
not to be rude, but I've got to jump on another call.
No problem. Thanks, guys.
Thanks very
for
much.
Contributions
Thank you very much.
James.
Cheers.
Appreciate that.
Thank you. Cheers.
Okay. And nice to see you all. And safe days and safe journeys, and keep safe during COVID. And thank you for your participation contributions.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Nick.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
See you later.
Bye bye.
Cheers.